Craig Shallahamer. Welcome to DOAC TV.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. You are a renowned expert for AI in the database business, in all things database performance. So what do you think? How will artificial intelligence affect the DBA's work, the database people's work in the future, in the next 2 years maybe?
Yeah, it's a very, well, as I said, I don't know, but I have some ideas. And it's very personal, right? Because it affects people's livelihoods, and some people will retire soon in, say, 5 years. But I know in the U.S., the traditional DBA that you and I grew up with, it really doesn't exist anymore. Like I don't know of any Oracle DBA that is only Oracle. For example, that's just one small part.
We had that before. Some people were infrastructure plus Oracle. Others were more Oracle and development and everything in between. So you're saying that it's multiple platforms, or?
Yeah, multiple databases. You have on-premise, we have cloud, and there's a wide range of technologies. Oracle is so much deeper and wider than it ever has been. So it's really difficult you can't be like an expert in everything, right?
So how can AI help us with that? Especially, it's fine to talk about the US. I think people in Germany here listening to our videos, they are interested in the situation in the US. So if you can talk about the US, just tell us.
Well, let's see. Can you ask me real specifically?
Yeah.
No, like what do you want to know specifically?
My intention is you have database people who work with databases no matter what their main task is. And they try to employ artificial intelligence to make their job easier. But how does that work, and how do that affect their working conditions and their working life?
Okay, so that made me think about a couple of things. So I've been teaching some AI machine learning classes now for a few years, and my target is Oracle DBAs, right? It's not going to happen. I mean, they're just not really that interested on that. So the analytics people are, and the developers are, but a lot of DBAs, because unless they're younger DBAs, then they may be more interested. But the older DBAs are just more in like survival mode. They want to hunker down, live through it, retire, and that's it.
Yeah, but database people always were very conservative.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking.
Yeah, so
don't touch my database.
Don't get close to me.
No, and you can tell when you go to conferences, the more developers there are, the younger the audience, and there's a lot more energy. They're like very optimistic about the future. They're excited. They're engaging, right? Yeah. And you can tell. It's just everything from the dance to the music to with the conference. It's really interesting.
So how does your work with AI help them?
Yeah, well, so I've said before that, or I heard somebody say this. It said, AI will not take your job, right, or replace your job, but somebody using AI will. I think that's so good, because we started using typewriters, right? Then we use personal computers, and then we use spreadsheets instead of paper. If I was still using paper, I couldn't run like my business. It's not going to work, kind of a thing. And so it's the same kind of thing, and it's easy to just say, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen to me. Like I do not want to even explore it. But I think the tools, well, I just know just AI, especially with the generative AI, that's like so easy and so natural to put into so many applications. It already has started making its way in all sorts of applications that we use every day.
So let's come back to the term generative AI. What's that?
Yeah. Okay. So there's all different types of AI and machine learning, and they can be categorized in so many different ways. But in terms of generative, it's going to generate like new content based on like a wide collection of contexts.
So
that's a real short summary.
Is that real possible to predict the future from the past? Does that work?
Well, it actually can. Of course, there's always the unknown, though, and that's what the forecasting is. We try and
can you give us a case where that works? You wrote a famous book about performance forecasting.
Oh yeah,
that was before the AI era.
Yeah.
But you have quite a pretty good idea how that prediction stuff works. But how can AI help us to predict the behavior of our systems?
Yeah. All right. So with the it goes so far back. So like even like regression analysis now can be grouped under like machine learning, but that's been going on, I don't know, in the 40s or 50s, whenever that's all started. But like one of the first projects I did, now that would be classified as more machine learning, but whatever now. What we did is there was a specific promotion that a company wanted to let their past customers know about, but they did not want to email everybody because most people don't care. And so what we did, we looked at their behaviors with other similar people, and we said, long story short, we found a group of people that behaved very similarly to the people that purchased a product but had not. It's kind of like if I hang around a bunch of people and they all have hats on, but I don't, and I was selling hats, I would come talk to me because all my friends have hats, but I don't. Why not? You probably want a hat. And so we did that with promotions, and it worked. And so I saw the machine learning work. And you know how sometimes you think, kind of in your heart, you hope it's going to work, but when you build something and then it works, you're like, wow, this stuff actually works. And it was kind of one of those. Yeah.
So what you described is a kind of pattern. So you describe a pattern and make the AI draw conclusions from it or make predictions based on it.
Yeah.
And how can a database guy get help from that?
So
in a very specific, we are all Oracle people.
Yeah.
So how can I analyze an Oracle database or behavior of an Oracle database by using AI? Is there something going on in this direction? Is there other?
It's in a number of areas. I mean, from a classic IT operations perspective, you have the monitoring and alerting. And we could talk about that for a second, is that, classic monitoring is all done with rules. If this, do that. But things always change. They really, and another example would be, a workload on Friday afternoons may be relatively high, and that's normal. But if that was the workload on a Tuesday afternoon, if you had that same workload on a Tuesday afternoon, people would see what's going on, right? But it's okay on Friday. Well, with machine learning, you can say it's okay on Friday to have a high workload, but not on Tuesday mornings, and it can detect that kind of
because
thing.
the day of the week is part of the pattern.
Exactly, the day of the week would be considered one of the features or attributes of the performance situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the big challenge is, I think, especially in the show, to stick with the example, with a horizon of a week, it might be a good thing to do and quite easy to get a result from the model. But if you say, okay, it's a usual week, but now, for example, how can you predict a Black Friday, for example? So if you have the usual week and then the classic Black Friday, boom, you need data from 2 years for it.
Okay, I can tell you how people have actually done it. I've talked to in the past. They really have no idea. It's maybe 3 times as much or 10 times. So they just make sure they architect their systems and have the capacity to scale.
Yeah, because it's from the calendar.
They know by the calendar, and it's much more difficult, really, because it's not a weekly cycle. It's kind of a year, and so they just say, well, it's been like, I've heard like 10 times as much, like on a Black Friday or that kind of thing. And so they just have to. Architecture becomes a huge part of it, so you can actually scale. And the cloud really does help in those situations.
How comes that?
Well, you don't have to have all that power just like idle, waiting for those super crazy peak days. And so in the past, what would happen, like in accounting systems, people would say, the system's so slow. This sucks, and people say, well, Craig, it's the end of the month. This happens every time when they close the books. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Well, the business knows performance is horrible at the end of the month. But they're like, just suck it up, guys. That's just the way. We're not going to spend all this extra money for like one day of the month. But on Black Friday, they don't really want to do that because it's only Black Friday and people will just go someplace else. So.
Yeah, when you look at the modern DevOps perspective,
oh,
then it would be a dream of every DevOps team if you could say, okay, I automate my cloud setup so that the cloud can be defined by automated processes, and the automated processes get fed from an AI that tells them to increase computing power on a Friday, but not on next Friday because next Friday is a public holiday.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would be a good thing.
Yeah. And so there's more of that going into it. But when you have those really crazy one-off kind of days and things like that, I suspect there's still, it's just like, oh yeah, the last 2 years was about 10x. So that's, it's not, you have to, it's going to be something like that. So, but that's really not the exciting stuff. Okay, the exciting thing is closer to the generative because you can apply it and just really starting to go right now. So like select AI kind of thing. Yeah, we were
that's
talking.
Cool.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a big deal. That's going to really affect developers, and it will affect the DBA also because of all the infrastructure and the permissions, the security, the APIs. I mean, that's so much infrastructure, and that'll and if the SQL that's created runs really slow, it's just not performing, like, they're going to call the performance DBA guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be involved in that as well.
Yeah, but when you say generative AI, from my experience, you can use it for daily DBA work. You can say, okay, please create me a backup script.
Right.
But in the end, it will not be perfect. So you
Correct.
still are in charge. You have still the responsibility to do that. And the more complex the cases get, you have more and more work with reviewing the output or improving the output.
Yes.
But how do you see that in the daily work of the database people? Will they start relying more and more on the AI? Will they offload their daily stuff to the AI, or will they be more or less reluctant to do that?
It really, it depends how good the AI is. But it also really depends on how specific and how good, like I'll just say the DBA or whoever, is it asking the questions. That's what I've noticed is that the better, just like talking with the person, the better you can ask a question, you get a much better response. It's the same thing with AI. You don't use certain words that they don't want you to use, and you get a better, deeper, more well thought out response, I find.